Oh, there we go. Looks like it's working. All right, so it seems like it's working after all. First of all, I'd like to thank QallOut for giving this platform for the debate and for Marlene for being here to debate this topic. I want to start off that this specific question of is Walmart good for America is really part of a much, much bigger discussion, which really lies in the discussion of free market capitalism versus really any other set of economic way of running the country. Anything to the left, really, any social way, democratic socialism, and anything to the left of that. And I say that because in order to hold the position that Walmart has been bad for the American economy, you have to be really to the left of that. If you believe in free market economy, believe in capitalism, Walmart has been good. I mean, that's exactly what capitalism is. However, you can be to the left and still hold that Walmart has been good for America for a number of reasons, which we will outline throughout the debate. Now, there are a number of things that Walmart has done which was very beneficial for the U.S. economy and for each individual person as a whole. One, the studies show that Walmart saves the average family of four in America north of $2,500 a year. There are many studies that show that the numbers far greater than that, but at least an average of $2,500 a year. Then besides that, there's a whole nother factor. Obviously, now we're discussing just America, but there's a whole nother factor of helping out the distributing wealth from the wealthy countries to the poorer countries around the world. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to stick strictly to America because that's the topic of the debate. Besides the actual cost, it's better, it's more efficient, and when it comes to shopping for your groceries, where you have many different types of things that you're going to be shopping for all in one place. It was really, Walmart was really the innovator, the one that brought this big box retail, the cheap prices to America, to the forefront where it's everywhere. Another big thing about Walmart is that it's accessible to everyone. It was a book written in 2006 called The Walmart Effect, which estimates that 97% of Americans live within a 25 minutes of Walmart. Another thing that Walmart has done is the philanthropy of the Walton family and the Walmart and their foundation. There are a number of things which you can go and look up. One of them, they donate north of $1 million every single day. There was an initiative where they look to put
No. Hello? Can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can. Okay, I have 20 seconds. So you're talking about savings only when you're buying things. Walmart actually costs taxpayers more through Medicaid and SNAP and the other things that they force their employees to go on by the way they have their hours, right? They force employees to work a small amount, which forces them onto Medicaid and all these other things. In fact,
so I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the report that is talking about that the $7.8 billion in subsidies that goes to Walmart. Now, the Forbes had a whole write-up on this, how that $7.8 billion in subsidies is really a really misconstrued number, as a lot of that is going to people that aren't working regardless. If Walmart was to shut its doors and these people now are out of a job, they're going to be getting these benefits regardless. So it's not like these people are now getting benefits and subsidies solely because Walmart exists. And there are actually cases to be made that Walmart, due to the fact that these people are now working, because the subsidies are less when you're working than when you're not working, that these subsidies are less. I mean, these people that aren't working are going to be costing taxpayer dollars through our social plans that we have, whether it's SNAP, whether it's Medicaid, whether all these programs, they're going to be benefiting off these programs. So correct, when it comes to buying, it's saving money. Now, here's the question that I want to pose. And say Walmart has zero profit. At the end of the day, they don't make a penny. And now they pay their employees the amount that they pay their employees. Their cost of goods are exactly the same. Would anybody have a problem with Walmart, or is the problem solely that since Walmart is making so much money, they can afford to pay their employees more, so therefore Walmart is now bad for America? That's the question that I want to ask, because it seems to me, from what I hear from people that hold that Walmart has been bad for America, is that they can go ahead and pay their employees more. So, and here's the example that I want to give. Say I was able to buy a house for $5. The value of the house is $1 million. I buy it for $5, however I get it. Must I now only sell it for $10 and make 100% of my money, or could I not sell it for whatever the market is? Obviously, the answer is I can sell it for whatever the market rate for that house is. So Walmart, which by the way does not pays above what minimum wage is, which we're going to get into that topic as well. I'm assuming, as to where minimum wage should be and how much they should be paying their employees. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the main argument from the other side is that since they profit is so much, which is a lot less than people think, since they profit so much, they can afford to pay their employees more. Therefore, because of that, Walmart is bad for America. Now, that's simply illogical to say, since you're able to pay more, you have to pay more. They do pay more than Kroger's pays their employees, which happens to be unionized. So to go ahead and just simply say that they're bad for America, you really got to make a clear-cut case for why they're bad.
You're only focusing on one part of this issue, however, right? So it's not just that they could afford to pay their employees more. It's also that they uniquely abuse the systems, the welfare systems in America, in the ways that they schedule people. They schedule people intentionally at halftime, more so than any other chain in America, right? And when you're talking about savings per year, we also find these savings from local businesses. We also find these savings from other things that are not like Walmart. It's not just that they could pay their people more, it's also the abusive way they make their products, right? Like what happens when you have a big conglomerate like Walmart who starts to buy out these other businesses, right? We think that one, it drives down local business, which is like a decrease of the American dream. And this whole free market capitalism thing only works if you're actually able to have competitors competing with these big conglomerates. And Walmart uniquely drives down the rates of the quality of these products in the way that they kind of bully producers. It's not that the Walmart products are the same product better, it's a cheaper version of a product, which actually has an economic impact on the consumer, because they're going to have to replace these things more often. Even if they're saving on face, if you have to buy the same thing over and over again, it's not a long-term investment that's helpful. And the whole Forbes thing, I recognize that it's like a whole, you're trying to misconstrue the fact that it was like a big, huge number. It was based on Wisconsin as a case study, and economists actually looked at it and found that the true number was 1.5 billion on average per Walmart in America. There is an associated cost to taxpayers. Even if you're saving money in the store, you're still hitting it, right? And the fact that just because it's accessible to everyone means it's okay is not an argument. McDonald's is accessible to everyone. That doesn't mean everyone should eat their meals there. You can say something is successful and that there are still moral implications that are bad about it, right? Furthermore, the way they hire their employees. If you look at both those who are at Walmart and especially those who are of disabilities, they tend to tokenize employees and mess around with schedules. There are multiple instances of Walmart abusing their employees and like going illegally against things. Look at Paul Reyna, who was a cart pusher who was in need of a job coach. Walmart got a new manager and forced him to reprove his disability despite already providing documentation. And he actually ended up losing his job for lack of a job coach. Steve Bradley, who has cerebral palsy, who said he was questioned his intelligence and ability to run a cash register based on the fact he was in a wheelchair. Cerebral palsy does not affect your intelligence in any way. So it's not just that Walmart could afford to pay their employees more. They're also decreasing like the products in such a way that it hurts the consumer because you have to keep going back and getting the same crappy product. And they're also like belittling to the way that they hire people. Do you know what it means when you're kept at half-time work? It means that you're forced to go to that welfare and you get the stigma of being on welfare. And it's not that they wouldn't have a job otherwise. They could get hired somewhere else. It's that there's this fake idea that Walmart's the only place that can get employed because it's the accessibility you choose. It's forcing people into this fake dichotomy of work at Walmart or work nowhere. You're buying into that fact. And I don't think that's the case. I think in a world where Walmart goes, we actually see people getting better jobs.
Now, there are a number of things that you touched on, which I want to go through one by one. First of all, the cases that you brought up of abuses, those are, besides the fact that Walmart is known to be, people go on a suing spree with Walmart because they know that Walmart has deep pockets and they pay up. So, and there are studies also that debunk that a lot of these accusations and suits against Walmart were bogus. There were few that were settled, and some of them conceded that they were in the wrong, and they agree with that. I hope you're not insinuating that any company that has ever done anything wrong is bad for the country. I am not in any way, shape, or form condoning what they've done, and they have done things wrong, as have many other businesses. But that's not enough to make a case that they are bad for America. Now, and I'll keep on saying, with all the good that they have done, you really have to make a case how they're bad. Pointing out that there was a lawsuit doesn't simply make the case that they're bad. And again, let's go back to the fact that they pay their workers the wages that they pay. Are you willing to concede that if their net profit was zero, that is not a valid claim that they are bad for America due to the fact that they don't pay more? And if you will concede to that, then that you could throw that whole argument out, because to say that since somebody's making X amount of dollars, you got to pay more is just completely illogical. Now, going at the thing that you say that they make worse products, how much, unless you're saying that consumers are dumb people, then obviously their products are good enough that it makes sense for people to continue shopping there, right? If I go to Walmart to save $5 on a product, but I got to keep on replacing the product where I end up losing money, I think we both agree that it makes more economic sense to stop shopping at Walmart. So you got either one or the other. Either their products are good enough with the price point that they're at that it does economically make sense to shop at Walmart and they are saving money, or shoppers have low IQ and don't understand that they're wasting money. You got to pick one or the next. That's on that. Now, as far as it being accessible, makes a humongous difference. The fact that somebody in a rural part of America now could go ahead and buy something for pennies on the dollar that would cost if you go to a mom and pop shop, of course it makes a humongous difference. For somebody who's living either below, at, or just above the poverty line, it makes a humongous difference. 100%. I'm not sure why you're throwing that out the window, that it makes no difference. Now, you also mentioned the fact that they work it out that a lot of the employees are working half-time. 100% workers work half-time. That's due to the fact, and there are many studies that show, for instance, going to Seattle, what happened now when they raised the minimum wage to $13, that when the minimum wage goes up, employers start pulling back hours, start putting employees on half-time and pulling back hours. But I'll also leave you up this question. Does it make a difference to you and the good of Walmart?
So I think what you're trying to do is straw man the way I'm talking about average consumer. It's not that they're not intelligent. It's that Walmart has created this false choice that they are the only place that people living at poverty or below poverty can afford, right? And with the same sort of false choice that the products they're selling are the same quality as a product you might get in another place, which might only be $1 or $2 more, not money, like not going to break the bank of someone, right? But the idea of a Calphalon pan at Walmart and a Calphalon pan at Target being the same, but one's $1 cheaper, I'm going to buy the cheaper. But the product is so much less that it's going to go bad quicker. And as a consumer, you don't see past the packaging, right? But that's what is happening from like the producer level when Walmart is actually like bullying people into doing this. And it actually does cost people longer in the short run, but like the perception is that you're saving money. And it's not that people who are shopping at Walmart don't have a high IQ. It's that you think you're getting something that you're not because of the coercive way that Walmart is doing it. And as far as like paying pennies on the dollar, what you're talking about here, and like the donations you talked about earlier, even the donations Walmart does a lot of time is like to mitigate damage that they've caused. If you look at the amount of product recalls, which goes back to this point of like, it's not just about saving your money on things, it's also about the product being good. In May of 2017 alone, there were 47 different product recalls. Of that, 67% of them were actually because of things like salmonella, botulism, things that would hurt the average consumer. When they're cutting costs and making their products, it's not just to make things affordable, it's also dangerous in a lot of different ways, right? And I don't understand this whole thing about the minimum wage going up. We're not talking about the minimum wage of Walmart employees. We're talking about the way that they use the minimum wage coercively to get people on these different benefits, and that how they deny certain rights that they shouldn't, right? But there's like a huge like harm to shoppers internally. And I also think that if you talk about kind of why it's bad for America specifically, it's not that Walmart doesn't know. If you look abroad, because I think it is important here, you see that Walmart recognizes the stigma of its business is so bad that in order to compete internationally, they have to change things. Look at Seiyu in Japan. They had to rebrand. Why? Because they recognized that inferior standards were synonymous with international embodies, right? That Walmart was not good enough, right? And it's why their ventures into Mexico, Germany, and South Korea failed. Because the stigmatization was that not only American products were bad and cheap, but also that the American ethos was one that it was willing to go against its employees. Why does this mean it's bad for America? It's bad for America insofar as they recognize there's an issue with their business model and there's an unethical treatment of their employees, to the fact where countries are going to call them out on it, they're willing to change. It's bad for America because they've tricked kind of by the metric of free market capitalism, people into saying it's okay that they're doing this thing. Just because something is legal and they're playing on the margins does not mean it is ethically okay to treat people the way Walmart treats employees and the way it treats its producers.
All right, now I want to go on to your topic of the way it treats its employees. Now, then this is the beauty of free market capitalism. Nobody forces an employee to work there. Right? When the Walmart opened up first time in Washington, D.C., there was 600 openings, 23,000 people applied for those jobs. Now, I'm sure somebody didn't make, hey, they're going to treat me like hell and I hate working there, let me go apply for the job. They want to apply for the job. Nobody's forcing them to apply for such a job. They made a decision that this job makes sense for me to take it. It's going to pay my bills and I'm going to go ahead and take it. Nobody's forcing anybody to take this job. And also to this insinuation that they are rapidly just going ahead and mistreating all their employees is just false. There's no data to back that up. You'll find instances, you'll find cases 100%, as you will with any company that employs globally, what, 2.2 million employees in the US, anywhere between 1.4, some studies say 1.5 million employees. Yes, you're going to find 100%, you're going to find these cases. And I think the numbers, there are 5,000 lawsuits brought against them a year. And of those 5,000, I think the vast majority of them are thrown right out the window. So yes, of course it's going to happen. Like I said, in those cases that they do wrong, they'll agree to it that they do wrong. They're not sitting there advocating and say, hey, what we did was right. But to say they're bad for America, again, you got to show that the bad outweighs the good. Now, Jason Furman, the chair counsel of economics under Obama, I'm going to quote him word for word. A range of studies has found that Walmart prices are 8 to 39% below its competitors. The single most careful economic study, co-authored by a well-respected MIT economist, Jerry Hausman, found that grocery sales by Walmart made consumers better off to the tune of 25% of food consumption, which is multiple $1,000s a year. The collateral damage from efforts to get Walmart to raise wages and benefits are way too enormous and damaging to working people and our economy. Now that's a left-wing Democratic person that said that. Now, because like I said, obviously I'll agree, everybody will agree that there are instances that and stories that happen with Walmart that are egregious, that are horrible. But to go ahead and say that Walmart condones those, that's how Walmart operates based on that, is just simply untrue. Like I said, in order to hold your stance, you got to show the bad outweighs the good. Now, as far as the good is concerned, it saves the average family of four anywhere between $2,500 to $3,100 a year in goods. Their goods are just as good as any other ones, and if not, then people would stop buying them. Again, if the goods were breaking and the end, like you said, wasting money, people would stop buying.
Okay, you keep talking about how no one forces people to work there and no one forces people to shop there. But I think Walmart, in a way, is forcing this choice, right? Walmart's actually drive down other companies' ability to meet their price point and also drive down other companies' ability to stay in business, right? Oftentimes what happens is Walmart buys out smaller groupings or like suppliers and forces them to kind of only go to Walmart. Look at DNA. Calphalon does this. Look at various products. I have them written down somewhere. I apologize. But like, right, Walmart shuts down other businesses and forces this false choice. And as far as like when you're talking about these cases that are being thrown out and like it's not a case example, I think when you're talking about chains that are similar to Walmart, looking at Target, looking at Kroger's, looking to all the other things that we would say minimum wage employees, maybe similar hours, you actually find that with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which represents employees who have been wronged and mostly those who also have disabilities, 72% of cases are against Walmart that they actually handle, right? And you talk about them being thrown out. Why are they thrown out? Because Walmart is a big wig, right? They have like a ton of money and they can pay people off, and they also kind of like are scary to take on. If you look at class action lawsuits, Walmart as a company has more per year than any other business of similar size, right? And I think this whole metric of you have to prove that it's more bad than good, I think that we just have to prove that it hasn't had a positive influence. Free market capitalism is not enough to justify gross mishandling of not only the suppliers and the supplier chain, but also the employees, which I think I've proven. And if you're talking about like American perception, it's actually, there have been polls done, like the Zogby poll that took 1,000 people from each state and asked whether or not they enjoyed Walmart, as well as whether or not they believe Walmart was good for America. 56% of people polled from all demographics across all states stated that they actually think Walmart's bad for America. 39% said that they actually thought it was good. The rest were undecided, right? And this whole thing about MIT gross resales on food consumption, I would like to hear when that was from, because that's actually changing. In 2017, with the Trump administration changing the way welfare is done, we've actually seen that SNAP products or SNAP coupons are going to Target and Amazon more than they are Walmart, right? We actually see that Walmart's prices are increasing a little bit compared to their competitors in a way that's driving down business and harming their employees who used to be able to have to like work to afford there, simply because we're seeing the taxes that Walmart is asked for are increasing, right? So we think that I think it's forcing people into a false choice to work there, as well as like actually harming an employee's ability to shop elsewhere, because there's this false perception that you have to shop at Walmart in order to survive in some areas, right? You yourself are saying it's the accessibility, it's the fact that they can get these cheap items, but I think that you're ignoring the fact that like just because that's the perception doesn't mean it's true. And I think I've kind of like proven that through my own statistics and facts here. I also think when you're talking about ethos, you need to really keep in mind this idea that, oh, out of time.
All right, so basically to wrap this up, the thing about free market capitalism is that nobody's forced to do anything. Anybody can shop, and like the old saying goes, people vote with their feet. If people really dislike Walmart that much, then why are they still shopping there? We're talking about north of 100 million Americans every single week shop at Walmart. So to just put out there this notion that more than 50% of Americans hate Walmart, then why are they still shopping there? Obviously, either they don't hate Walmart and that poll is misconstrued, or the poll is accurate, but people don't really hate Walmart. Because like I said, people vote with their feet. People could say one thing, but their actions speak a lot louder. Obviously, people are more than willing to shop at Walmart. So obviously, Walmart is saving enough money. Obviously, Walmart is good for our economy. Obviously, Americans do want Walmart. So to create this bubble that Americans are vastly against, in the majority against Walmart, it's just bogus. I'm not buying it. I don't see how anybody would buy that when everybody's shopping there every single day. Now, also there's another study that shows, because you're insinuating that every time a Walmart comes into a city, all the mom and pops go out of business. There are a number of studies that show that plenty of mom and pops stay around, and not only that, there is a net income of jobs, because one would think that if there are 5 mom and pops, say, that give 50 jobs, and comes Walmart, and they're just going to replace the 50 jobs with the mom and pop, so they're basically the same amount of jobs. There are plenty of studies that show that there are a net number of jobs when Walmart comes to down, not a decrease in jobs. And again, so I just want to recap. In order to say that Walmart is bad for America, I'm still not sure exactly what your position is and what your line of reasoning is. They're saving the Americans money. That together with free market capitalism lifted 2/3 of the globe at above poverty level since 1990. They are accessible even in rural areas where people are living either below, at, or right above poverty, where they can now buy cheap goods, cheap, reliable goods, obviously, because we went through that. So I'm not sure exactly, because there are instances where there are lawsuits. Granted, 100%. Are you saying that that itself, the fact that there are lawsuits, is enough to combat all the good that they did? I don't see the logic in that. We already went through the fact that they pay the wages that they pay is obviously no logical reasoning in that, saying that they're bad for America. So I'm still unclear to exactly why you're saying, what exactly is that bad of Walmart that trumps all?
I don't think you've proven that they're a good company. I think you've proven that they're making the bottom line. Right? You talk about people shop at Walmart. You're saying that people really don't hate it. People shop at Walmart because we have allowed a huge corporation to get such a stake in the community that they've driven down the ability of other chains to hire and other chains to exist in those communities. There is a direct correlation between Walmarts and where they are and businesses going out, right? And the mom and pops that survive are not the ones that are meeting the department store needs. You shut down a market, right? We've also shown on my side that the quality of the items that are being presented at Walmart are less, right? You say it's cheap and reliable, but it's not reliable. It's cheap. And what happens is they break down and people spend more over a lifetime. And this whole idea of a family of 4 saving $2,500, you failed to ever take into account the hidden costs I talk about. Look at the tax increases that we see from those who are on welfare from Walmart. I know your response is that, well, there'd be more if their Walmart didn't hire. No, I think that businesses who don't force their employees on welfare would probably be able to fill those gaps and like create a situation in which we're actually decreasing the amount who need welfare in the first place, right? You talk about this vacuum, but you don't ever like actually impact it out. You also never hit on my point about the stigma, this perception that happens when you work at Walmart and shop at Walmart. Look at those who are tokenized, right, in the disabled community and forced to be a greeter when they have like potentially other things that they can do. You never touched on that point, right? And you talk about an increase in jobs, but you don't talk about the quality of that job. I think I've proven how like they're abusive, right? Look at the way that they're at halftime. Look at the way they're forced into these things. There's stigmas involved with welfare that are negative, right? And even if it's not all employees, I've shown it's a majority. If you look at the number of recalls, if you look at the amount of lawsuits in comparison with other department stores, if you look at the stigma abroad and domestically, I think Walmart definitely has done more bad than good, right? And you talk about all of these things about free market capitalism, but I think you fail to realize that just because free market capitalism exists does not mean that it's an onus to do whatever you want as a company, right? You can say that maybe Walmart could be good. You could say that Walmart has a potential to be good if they change these things, if they were paying people better, if they didn't abuse their employees in the way that they do. But you haven't proved that. If anything, you've proven there are problems with their current business model. I think my international examples really highlight this, right? Because what you're talking about, accessibility doesn't mean it's good. The fact they're successful doesn't mean it's good. There are a lot of companies that are out there that are bad for us or bad for like the communities that they exist in, right? Because of the way that they coerce people. Success, as far as money goes, is not an equal measure. I kind of reject the idea that that's what we have to go on, right? And I think if you look back at everything that's talking about, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And I very much would stand opposed to Walmart benefiting society in America. I want to thank you for a great debate. I apologize for the tech issue.